Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
Absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust. We got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Jarno Watmere is your champion.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to some more Monday Evening Madness here at Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. And for the final time in 2025, we are back for PlayStation Tier 1, round number 7 of Season 41. And the venue this evening, well, Logan's giving you a bit of a clue there with what he's holding up. We return to the birthplace of Formula 1, a roll call of legendary corners, Cops, Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel Stowe. It is, of course, the British Grand Prix at the iconic Silverstone circuit, a place renowned for unpredictable racing action and just as unpredictable weather. And it will be fascinating to see what the skies have in store for us tonight and how it will shape the title battle, because once again, 7 days ago, we had another new winner, the fourth different victory in the last 4 races. Otsazito in Spain, fending off stern challenges from Leon and from Zwei to pick up his and Ferrari's first win of the season. Another name very much thrown into this championship conversation, but it is still last season's runner-up, Volokongen, who holds the trump card. 7 points clear of Mats van der Geest at the summit, with a queue of challengers all waiting in the wings, showing race-winning pace as well. So the question is very simple this evening. Will HMS title tussle be rocked once again tonight with another contender emerging from the pack? This could be very, very exciting and a very fun way as well to round out 2025. Isn't it, Logan, joining myself, Tom Wilkinson, in the virtual comms box?
Yes, we're home for the holidays. We are, well, for us anyway, we are British. With Silverstone Circuit, where it all began in 1950, the 13th of May, 1950, and it is an honour to be back at this track once again. I visited it twice, and two unforgettable experiences, especially the second one. So the first one as well. I actually met Jess, the manager there. Of course, Jessica Ball, our fine manager, who is also a commentator herself. And then the second one, of course, well, we all know what happened in this 2024.
We do all know what happened, yes. The return of LH44.
Well, and then it's all dropped off now.
Don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. What we should do, though, Logan, is talk about the championship pitch, because it is very, very fascinating when we look at the sharp end. Still Volokongen in charge for Mats van der Geest, but behind them, a bevy of drivers all trying to stake their claim for a late title run.
Yes, of course. I've lost the standings thing again. Yes, as you may notice, there is going to be a notable absence of one driver tonight. Unfortunately, due to an incident last week, Silo is no longer driving in this division. After the week before, he won the race, of course. But this week, the week after, he'd been disqualified and has unfortunately had to sit out the remainder of the season. But now we look on to the current stats of drivers. We have Volokongen still in the lead with 43. 7 points ahead of his nearest challenger, Max van der Geest, on 36. Neither driver with a win. But last week's winner, Otsazito, is now third and is just ahead of Dirk, who's also on 27. But on countback, because Otsazito had a 5th place finish and Dirk's second best result was a 6th place finish, Otsazito is ahead on countback. Tony Richet with 2 third place finishes and a poor last 2 outings where he failed to finish in the points is 1 behind on 26, despite not winning either. On 7th place is Nico with 25, also without a win. He failed to score last week as well, and Ivan Eskrig again failed to score as well, 24 points in 8th place. As your, well, actually 7th place, but of course Alex Lofer is still at the top there despite not competing in the last 2 rounds because he won the first 3 races and of course finished second at Monaco before transitioning to the PC divisions. Strange.
He did indeed. Fancied a change of scenery. But yeah, that title battle is fascinating, isn't it? Because you look at the runners and riders. Dirk hasn't scored a point since he won in Monaco a few weeks ago. Tony Richet, since he got back-to-back podiums, hasn't scored a point since. Ivan Eskri, terrible last couple of weekends. 16th and 17th for himself. Are we going to start to see this leading group of three forming of Volokongen versus Von Gies versus Ottosito? Or will we see another person come from the pack? It's really, really fascinating dynamic that I think will continue to unfold throughout the remaining 5 rounds. If we just have a look at the Constructors' Championship as well, Alpine, while Alex Lofer was here, were miles ahead of everybody else. But with the struggles that Ivan Eskri's been having recently and Jordan also not picking up points that regularly, the championship lead for the Enstone-based outfit has been eroded ever so slightly, but it has coincided as well with VCARB just struggling a little bit. 26 points the gap between Alpine and VCARB, with Ferrari, Mercedes and Williams all hot on the heels of the junior Red Bull team. Then a big gap back to P6, which is Aston Martin, battling strongly away with Red Bull, Sauber and McLaren, and Haas currently winning the wooden spoon battle down there in 10th with just the 8 points. McLaren is an interesting one, actually. Only scored points 3 times in 12 attempts. And to be honest, we don't actually see, well, we very rarely see both McLarens, apart from last week where they both did a very fine job.
Yes, they did. The McLaren's doing a very fine job last week. P6 for Snatsk, and the other McLaren driver finished in 8th place, which gets them on the board for the first time this season, that being, of course, Fraser. They are now on 18 points. Of course, their only other points finish was in Australia. There was mostly DNSs and failures to finish for the McLaren team. They're now into 9th place with 18 points, 10 ahead of 10th place Haas, who are on 8. Matthias also got disqualified from last week's race as well. Should mention that, and in fact, I'm very trying to find it. There's also more penalties you should accept for. We have Tony Richet got a 5-second penalty added to their time for a collision with Jordan. Finley got a 5-second penalty for his collision on lap 1 with Matthias and Lars Kramer. And Matthias was given a court warning for no footage provided in that incident. And Silo we've already mentioned of. So no qualifying bans. Everyone's going to be in this session, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. Not what I noticed. Guyosh had a qualifying ban. He served it last week. So did Tony Richet, because they were here last week. Let's see what the grid's looking like. We've 17 so far.
We do. I think we're not getting all 20. We are going to be topping out at around about 17 or 18, which is disappointing for the last race of 2025 as well, but sometimes you just have to put up and shut up with the attendance. Before we get in, a couple of bits of admin to start off with, and the big one: do you want to try and get faster on this F125 game? You're going to have to get used to it for quite a while, because there isn't going to be an F126, so make sure you head over to Sim Racing Setups, everybody. Unlock the Pro F125 car setups created and developed by the drivers you see week in, week out here at Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. Esports and stable setups for you to get into, along with quality and race setups, dry and wet weather, optimal race strategies. Everything is thrown in for you, all of it available for £49.99 over at simracingsetup.com, which is linked in the description, and use that code PSGL at checkout for a 5% discount. They are very much the best in the business. But talking about circuits, we need to look at the venue we are going to be heading to today. We've already mentioned the roll call of legendary corners here at Silverstone, but where are the real action zones as we wait for qualifying to get underway? Well, following quite difficult, isn't it, with the dirty air on this game, but that opening sector, in particular on the opening lap, can very quickly descend into chaos through Village and the loop at turns 3 and 4. Patience is often in short supply. 2 DRS zones to keep an eye on. The first one to charge down into the endlessly long Brooklands and Luffield complex. 2 corners that seem to last for absolute ages and also destroy the front tyres. They do, however, set up side-by-side showdowns through Copse before the drivers thread the needle through the legendary sequence of Maggots, Beckett and Chapel at total commitment, as brave as they possibly can be. Second DRS zone, and arguably the best overtaking opportunity of the lap. The run down the hanger straight into Stowe. The job won't be finished, though, because the Vale chicane awaits them with mountainous sausage curbs and a notoriously tricky traction zone ready to punish anybody who is too greedy on the throttle at the end of the lap. It is an incredible circuit, isn't it, Logan?
Yeah, and if you look here, Are you on the screen?
I can
You
be on
look
the screen.
here- If you look here, this is what Silverstone looked like in 1950 when it was first used for Formula One. The finishing line was at the Farm Straight. Yeah, the Farm Straight. Before going into Woodcote, until it was moved to after Woodcote and before Copse. Now it's before Abbey and after Club. Or after Club and before Abbey.
It's seen so many changes, hasn't it, over the years, this Silverstone circuit. Usually they do make it better. Remember the one before the changes in 2011, I think it was? Copse, obviously, the old turn one.
2010.
Fantastic corner. Yeah, was 2010 the last race of that that layout when we had that the change in the middle sector?
2009.
2009.
2010, they updated the layout, but they moved the wing pits in 2011.
That's the one, yeah. So many changes, but it remains to be a constant fixture. We've also raced it twice in one season, of course, back in 2020, and on the F125 game, you can even run it in reverse as well. You can see there, Logan, with the track map helpfully for us there. So expect some fantastic racing, expect some interesting strategic battles as well, going through the history still of the Silverstone circuit. Is this your favourite layout, Logan? I have to say, of this circuit.
I prefer the 1950 version because it's not as complicated.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I do like the current layout. Silverstone's always been a fun one. I know sometimes it gets a bad rap for being over-egged by the British bias media, and both of us are British, so if you do have a problem with British bias, we might not be the best people to listen to, but it is a very, very exciting circuit. First person in the chat is Kairana Rochelle. I hope I pronounced that correct, my friend. Dylan will win tonight. Well, Dylan has had some very good appearances so far this season. I believe picked up a podium on one of the reserve appearances a few weeks ago, so definitely a strong contender, and there are going to be many strong contenders because this championship battle is so fluid. It's changing so many times. We've got so many different runners and riders appearing. We could be in a situation where the champion hasn't actually come through the pack yet. There could be somebody from 7th downwards that we haven't spoken about in the intro that might make a really late run, do an Alex Loeffler from the first 4 rounds.
That would be something spectacular. Of course, you almost saw that happen with Max Verstappen this year in the Formula One. Unfortunately, it did not happen, because Lando Norris managed to hold on.
He did indeed. Little bit of a delay getting into the lobby. I think we're waiting for maybe Phil. I'm not 100% sure. There is somebody that we're waiting for. No, I can hear the beeps in my ear, which signals that the timer is counting down. So we will be getting underway in about 30 seconds' time. Remember, if you are new to PlayStation PSGL and PC PSGL, for that matter, 50% race coming up in about half an hour's time. 26 laps that'll be at this configuration of circuit. But before that, we have our qualifying session, 18-minute quali session. You would have seen sometimes previously in PSGL, we had a lobby reset between qualifying and the race. That is no longer the case. Collisions are kept on, so if you do impede somebody in qualifying, expect a slap on the wrist. 18 minutes on the clock to try and fight it out for the best grid positions. And with no reset, those soft tyres that you use in qualifying are going to be taken into the race. And traditionally, you want to keep at least one set of the red stripe rubber in your back pocket in the case of a late race safety car. We say that, though, we haven't seen that many safety cars this season, Logan. I don't even think, when we mentioned this last week, I don't remember the last safety car we saw.
I don't even think we have one. I'm
Maybe
sure
very
there
early
was
on?
a virtual safety car. If there was a safety car very early on, I think I only remember seeing virtual safety cars though. Is safety cars turned off? Let's find out.
I don't think it should be turned off. You can see the weather is overcast. No rain as yet, but if we know anything about the British Grand Prix, especially the 2025 edition from a few months ago this year, the rain can come down to some catastrophic degree, and it can be aquaplane central for all the drivers out there. But it is dry at the moment. 17 in the lobby, so not the full 20, as I think it is the Ferrari of Tony Richet coming out. Hasn't scored points since his back-to-back podiums in round 2 and 3. Needs to try and get himself back into this title picture, because Vola Kongen, yes, he might not have the peaks of some of the other drivers. Like you said, hasn't won a race yet this season, but he is so consistent and so reliable.
He is, absolutely, and that is why he is net top of the table. I say net top because, of course, Alex Loeffler is still there, but he's not here anymore. But he will be looking to try and extend his lead over Van de Geest tonight, especially at a track like Silverstone, where cornering is very key, especially in these first few corners they're going through right now. They're probably the two slowest on the track besides Vale. And then making our way down through the Wellington Straight, which is used for the national circuits, still is, for the touring cars. Then into Brooklands and Luffield, where the race used to begin. Added back in 1991. We're into the old pit straight, as they say. Used to see the stands back then were very close to the track. Going past Escapade, where all the fancy houses are. Wish I could buy one of them, but I probably have to be 10 times in debt.
Fancy hospitality as well, that can be quite pricey at sometimes. Carano in the chat again, what time do we think pole position will be? If Alex Loafer was still here, I think lower than a 24.6 would be possible. He was, remember, the qualifying king, had an incredible run of, I think, 9 consecutive pole positions in the races that he attended. I think a 24.6 is probably a decent shout, and like you said as well, field very, very close this season. This could be a fascinating title battle as we get into the back end of it. But Tony Richet negotiating the Vale chicane and through club corner to start his first flying lap of the station. Logan, why don't you take us through it?
So up we come through the fast right-hander off Abbey and then through Farm. Breaking into the third turn here. Tyre position critical for these two corners. You want to maximise the time you save before making your way out towards the slingshot and now down the Wellington Straight. Achieving speeds of over 200 miles an hour. Breaking into Brooklands. Again, apex is crucial. Keep the finger on the trigger until you get out of the corner. That is Luffield. Through Woodcote, go right to the inside. Just go over the curb and now through Copse. Some people like to take this flat out. I think you have to take this flat out now with these cars. And he's got it set up for going flat out, and now through the famous Maggots, Beckett and Chapel. This is probably where position of the tyres is crucial. I think he's done that alright. And now on the DRS down the Hangar Straight. Probably the fastest part of the track. Breaking into Stowe. Gets right on the curb. Easy to make a mistake here, and he's got to be careful not to hit the traffic in the front. And to Vale. And then apply the foot of the throttle at the right moment to get maximum speed out of club and to complete a lap 124.888. That's a decent lap.
That looked really clean as well, riding on board with the Scarlet Ferrari. Very few mistakes. Looked really confident under traction as well, which can be something around this circuit. It just takes you a little bit of time to get used to coming out of the Vale chicane, for example, or indeed through Brooklands and Luffield. Dirk really committed through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Lawrence in the Red Bull goes second fastest of the two times. Still in the 125s, 25.1. And Leon now 25.2. Was very competitive last week in Spain. Just didn't quite manage to put the whole race weekend, if we call it a weekend, of course, even though it's on a Monday, together. Finlay 25.2, just signifying how good that opening lap from Tony Richet was. Dirk ran the final couple of corners, now cutting the beam. Will this be a 24? No. 25.1. Big gap forming out in front, just telling you how solid and how dependable that lap from Tony Richet was. Here is his teammate Ottozito, last week's winner, of course. Volokongen to P7, championship leader now down to 8th. Dylan Hogland, and then Ottozito getting into the 25 flat to go second and third, respectively. Volokongen in a little bit of danger there, down in P8 after the first runs. Obviously, this isn't full qualifying, so nobody's going to get eliminated, but just on the back foot at this early stage.
Seems like it right now, as we have 12 drivers on the timing screen, but it could be 13 or 14, I should say, as Polymaki completes his lap. The Snatskis went to the top 3 with a time just scraping the 85-second mark. Swade is going to be the last to complete a lap, and I am pleased to report that everyone has completed the lap without invalidating. That is a rarity.
Well done, fellas, especially first lap time of the session. This is a circuit where if you push the boundaries just a little bit too far, track limits can just bite you in the behind. Maggots, Beckett and Chapel getting a little bit too eager over the curbs. Also through the exit of Luffield, if you're just trying to extract it a little bit too much, then you can just maybe dip a wheel in the gravel and invalidate your lap time. Carano there, Tony already matching your personal best with his banker. It looked so nice, didn't it? 24.8 from Tony Richet. 10th and a half clear of the rest of the field after after the first runs, giving him some leeway into the back end of this qualifying session to really try and lean on that Scarlet car even more, looking confident straight out of the blocks, which is, of course, a great marker of a great driver in very decent form.
Absolutely. And form is what you need in this league if you want to win the big prizes. PSGL, the pinnacle of F1 racing on PlayStation and on PC as well. Hello to our PC friends. I'll see you on Thursday. Can't wait for the Wednesday division, the top tier esports division, which brings the best drivers on. Everyone coming into the pits, so absolutely nothing's going to happen. Just give me news to break that Max Hopp has won on his return to the World Darts Championship. Spoiler alert, anyone watching the darts, put it on my phone right here whilst I'm watching. Not too distracted though, don't be distracted at all because there's no match right now. Everyone's in the pits!
They are.
Quite an opportune time to get the historic cars out they usually do during the middle of intermissions.
They do. Thankfully, they don't crash them as much as we see sometimes at Monaco when some of those legendary classics just get treated a little bit poorly, it has to be said. A couple in particular draped in scarlet red haven't gone particularly well. If we look at the two main championship protagonists, first and second in the standings, Volokongen only 13th on a 25.3, definitely needs to extract a little bit more performance. Mats von der Gie solid early on, if unspectacular in 7th on that 25.1. If there's anything we know about Volokongen, he's not the best qualifier in the grid, doesn't usually find himself right at the sharp end, but he's so adept at working his way through traffic in the race, getting the strategic calls absolutely on point and maximising his races. So even if he does start outside the top 10, do not be surprised to see him interloping perhaps even in the top 5 at the latter stages of the Grand Prix. 10 minutes to go, 10 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock, and we're going to see drivers out for the second time to see if they can try and hold a candle to this very, very impressive banker lap that Tony Roche stamped down.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to beat Tony Roche, the only driver to go under 85 seconds for the lap. In fact, under 84.9, 124 888, almost an advertising for a certain company we're not allowed to mention due to certain regulations. But it's looking good right now. 1.5 tenths faster than Dylan Hogland in the Red Bull, as everyone's going to come back out for lap number 2. To be fair, it looked quite what's the word? It looked quite gloomy when it started. It looks like it's getting much brighter now, but this is to be expected. It is December. It is Britain. Or we could be in a time machine and live in August, as you usually are.
Well, it is technically December in the world, isn't it? So maybe not too surprising that the weather is overcast. I think, yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be any rain at the back end of this qualifying session, but just slightly cooler conditions that we come to expect around the British Grand Prix, even though it is typically in the middle of the summer. The rain always pays a bit of a visit. Now, Ivan Escree mentioned it in the build-up. Terrible, terrible form after a really solid start. Came second only behind Alex Lofer in the season-opening Australian Grand Prix, but 16th 2 weeks ago, 17th last week in Spain. His return to Europe hasn't been brilliant in Spain, and Austria was the race a couple of weeks ago. Needs to try and just get a leg up on some of his opponents in that Alpine car. Fighting for a Constructors' Championship as well. The lead that they had early on is just getting whittled away ever so slightly and starting his second flying lap. 11th in the timing charts at the moment. A member of the 125.3 club with Polymaki just in front and AMS Surface. Volokongen sat just behind. Little bit wide. And then a big wobble as well. The rear stepping out on the run out of Village and into the loop. But it does give him some really nice rotation because he can catch the slide. Now powering through Aintree and down the Wellington Straight. We'll see what the improvement is through the first sector. The Wellington Straight, very, very bumpy on this game, remember. Finds a 10th through the first sector. Cranks the steering lock on to get the car to rotate and bite again through Butkins and into Luffield. Endlessly long, clumsy corner as well. Mentioned it with the traction and that little bit of gravel that can just suck you in on the outside. Foot flat to the floor through Woodcote, of course, and into Copse. Typically, the drivers will just drop it down a cog from 8th into 7th to keep the revs high. You can see, yeah, slamming it down again, keeping the red line you can see on the steering wheel. Blipping at the driver, saying, you've got to change up. You've got to push it a little bit harder. Through Baggett and Beckett's really committed, as you have to be to extract the most out of your qualifying lap time. Little bit unstable through Chapel, but manages to negotiate it nicely, and it is a decent middle sector. Over a quarter of a second up. Shouldn't come across too much traffic. Ottozito is the Ferrari just coming up to the Vale chicane. Doesn't carry as much speed as we saw Tony Richet do through Stowe Corner on his first flying lap. So I don't think this will be challenging right at the sharp end. A little bit wobbly over the sausage curve through the Vale chicane as well. So a messy final sector in the context of the rest of the lap for Ivan Eskery. Is it a 24? Yes, it is. Improves by nearly 4/10, but maybe a little bit more time left on the board. Finlay also joining him on the 24.9s up into P3.
More drivers coming across the line. Volakongan goes to the top by 100th of a second. 124.878. That is why he is leading the way in this championship. Puts it right onto pole position for the meantime. Of course, we've got other drivers coming through, such as Van de Geest, but he can only just scrape above 125. But Tony Richet says, anything you can do, I can do better. 124.833. Goes faster by 45 thousandths, just over half a tenth faster than he was last time. And now he is back in the driving seat.
Really, really strong effort. Found half a tenth, but it's Volokong we mentioned, not the best qualifier. Really, really good lap from the championship leader to get up onto the front row. Whereas Ottosito, last week's race winner, powering down the hanger straight on the run into Stowe Corner. DRS flat wide open, trying to extract the maximum he can in a straight line setup. Sometimes you have to compromise it just a little bit. Long straights, high speed corners, but there are a few tricky traction zones you've got to be careful of. Some of the big names starting to come to the top. Ottosito wanting to join them. Teammate provisionally on pole at the minute, down in ninth. Can he find improvement? He does. Still in the 25s, but back up into P6 as he finds just under 3/4 of a tenth of a second.
So that is pretty much the second round of laps all done and dusted. And it's Tony Richet still at the top, but it's got much, much closer. Volakongan is knocking on his door, or, well, knocking on his cockpit more like. They don't have doors, these cars, which would be very impractical, considering these are single-seaters, not touring cars. I mean, we have the supercars in here. We have the safety car. Actually, can you drive the supercars anymore? I haven't really checked it out.
I don't believe you can, and I don't think you could on 24 either. So no more supercars in the game. Nice to see the two Williams running that beautiful Golf livery, the legendary colours of Golf as well on the Williams car. Remember back to 2021, that incredible McLaren Golf livery as well for the Monaco Grand Prix. They just continue to pull it out of the bag, don't they, with those special liveries. But Volokong, we need to talk about him. Championship leader under pressure after the first runs. Found half a second, though, to get into the 24.8s, and now putting Tony Richet under considerably more pressure than he was previously. That's a decent improvement for Tony on what you can imagine will be the same set of tyres, managing to extract another half a tenth out of it. And he will still be the favourite going into the final runs, albeit, like you said, will be a lot closer than maybe he was hoping for.
Maybe, yes. Looks like the only driver... Well, actually, they're all in again. There's 4 minutes left in this session. I expect them to go out in about a minute or two. But they're going to fine-tune their setups, or what limits they can set up to, before getting out there one last time, giving it that chance at pole position. 124.833, much more spread out than it was in recent weeks. Of course, Austria was very close. And Abu Dhabi last real F1 was really close too. And it was all for nothing, unfortunately. But the Ferrari there, Tony Richet, plumb at the top, looking to hold on, but anything can happen in these last laps. The extra fraction of a second could make the biggest difference here, as we are ready. And what I noticed very sadly is the Nico Hulkenberg there on the pit stop has been unoccupied, and of course he scored his first podium here.
He did indeed. Maybe nice that nobody's taking his place. First driver out on track is the championship leader, maybe just looking to put a benchmark down, and Tony Richet will be second on the road as well, so we're going to have to keep an eye out for the two big guns, the only drivers in the 1 minute 24.8. Less than 3 minutes to go, the final runs of qualifying. Everybody in the chat, hello, welcome along. First of all, place your bets, I'm trying to say, in the chat. Who do you think is going to take this pole position? Will Tony Richet keep it fastest after run 1? Fastest after run 2? Will it be fastest still at the end of the session after the third runs? Or can somebody like Volakongan, like Max von der Geest, break down the barrier and get ahead of that Scarlet Ferrari car? car. Going to be fascinating, isn't it? With 2.5 minutes left to go. And these laps, aren't they, Logan? The ones where we see what the drivers are truly made of. How is your confidence levels? How easy can you lead on that car when it's dangling on the ragged edge and right on the knife edge of performance and disaster?
Yeah, it could all matter here. If the rubber being much better, the much grippier on this lap, because of course we have broken it in quite a bit with these laps. The times that matter will most likely be on this round of laps. Volakongan is going to lead us out. He is going to be the first to set a lap. Hopefully he doesn't run out of traffic. Highly unlikely, considering that everyone is making it around as I speak.
Tony Richet's gone through.
Oh no, he's let Tony Richet first. Is that a tactical move, perhaps?
Interesting.
Well, whatever it is, could be that gentleman's agreement in play again. Tony Richet is going to be going first, and this will be the final lap for everyone. They're not going to make it round in time unless they somehow teleport their way cheating. But that obviously is impossible in this game. Or so we think. So here we go. Final lap is underway. Tony Richet into turn 3 and turn 4. It's going to be the most important lap of this night for Tony Richet, I'd imagine. Don't know what the 26 laps have in store, but definitely for qualifying, this is the one. If he wants to extend that lead, he doesn't have to go faster. He is going faster. 46 thousandths. That's double. He's trying to double his advantage here. He's got 45 thousandths. He could add another and make it 900ths. And that could be well more than enough. Volakongan trying to follow in his footsteps. Cops we come. Tony Richet coming down past the Escapade Apartments. Through Maggots, Beckett and Chapel. Very crucial corners for the lap. He looks great on the exit out of Chapel. He's still faster. Nearly a tenth faster. Volakongan is improving as well.
It's
but
tight.
Oh, he actually might be. This might be very close. Esqueek's not improving. So here we go. Who's it going to be? Let's look at Tony Richet first. Coming through the final corners. There's the checkered flag going to wait for him. Tony Richet will extend it to 124.696. Volakongan is not fast enough. He's 16 thousandths slower.
Just misses it. Checkered flag is out. These are the laps that have got to count. Lauren's up to 7th. Zwade up to 12th. Still in the 25s. Mats van der Geest second in the championship. Up to P4. Does dip his toes into the 24s. Ivan Eskrek is down by 200 through Sector 1. Up by half a tenth through Sector 2. Couple of cars coming around the final couple of corners. Polymacky doesn't improve. Neither does Phil. Big leap up for, who is that? Snacks up into 3rd. Dylan Hogland sets the same time as Max van der Geest, 5th and 6th for the RB and the Red Bull respectively. Ivan Eskrek needs to get his championship charge back on track. Looks on rails through the Vale chicane, rounding the final corner in the Alpine car. Improves, but only by a small amount. Stays in P4. We now look back to last week's winner. Otsazito on the run into the Vale chicane. Just a few laps left to come. Dirk will be the last over the line. Really attacking club corner is Otsazito, charging round the final turn we come. Can it be an improvement? Just by 7 milliseconds. Still only P8. What about Dirk? He's up by a little bit, but not enough. Rounding the final corner. I think he improved up to P6 with a good final sector. No, P4. Wow, Dirk, really good final sector. Getting into the 24s when it mattered most. So the drivers in the championship battle, the main guys we've seen this season, do come to the top right at the death. Tony Richet, by 16 milliseconds, steals it away from Volakongan. Championship leader doing a very, very good job. Snacks with a late run for McLaren up to 3rd. Ahead of Dirk. Ivan Eskrek sandwiched between the RBs with Mats van der Geest just behind, setting the same lap time as Dylan Hogland. Finlay also in the 24s, ahead of Otsazito, last week's winner, and Nico consistent as ever there, just inside the top 10. Lawrence Polymaki, Zwade Leon, Phil Surface, and Simone Mara, who retired at the end. Your 17 runners, the order going into the British Grand Prix. 26 laps, remember, 50% race, 26 laps around this legendary circuit. It is set up nicely. The drivers that have been struggling in recent weeks, Tony Richet, one of them. Both of the RB cars, in particular Dirk, Max van der Geest, has been a little bit better. Coming back to the sharp end in this qualifying session, this could be a very competitive British Grand Prix with the sun just poking through over the horizon.
Yep, so it'll be a nice sunny day, which is a rarity in this country, as you know. If you've been on holiday there, you would know too well. As we look at the fantastic wing pits, I really want to visit that one day. Well, I've saw it, but I've never been actually in it. I do believe it has hosted some events. Of course, it hosted the was there a watch party for Orlando winning the championship?
I believe there was, yes. A lot of papaya and the sort of neon yellowy green that is part of Lando's branding as well, filling up that very wholesome setting, I think it has to be said.
Yeah, and of course, they're not the only time Lando's got a port here. He had the Lando stand, which one of my good friends, Last Lap Lucy, was in during the Grand Prix. And I was told by her when I was watching her Twitch that they actually cheered louder for Hulkenberg's podium than Lando's win. Because I think it was getting clear that Lando was going to win it. But Hulkenberg, I still can't believe it. Hulkenberg and Hadger got a podium before Lewis in a Ferrari. And Carlos Sainz in a Williams as well, twice.
Incredible race, wasn't it? Wet. It was dryish at the start, even though they're on Inters. Some drivers went for the drives. George Russell and Charles Leclerc was not the right decision. Then we were back onto the slicks at the end, which was where Hulkenberg really got the podium. Hamilton went a lap too early, didn't he, in that battle for third? The soft tyres didn't really work, mediums for Hulkenberg, and he managed to see the race out. So, 26 laps of this British Grand Prix here at Silverstone in the heart of England, and this should be a fascinating way and a very exciting way and a fitting one as well to end out 2025 here in PSGL PSF1. Championship leader starting from second. His main rival, 7 points back, is Max von der Geest in the title race, goes from P6 with his teammate Dirk directly in front. Dirk hasn't scored points in the last 2 races after winning the Monaco Grand Prix a few weeks ago. Needs to bounce back and bounce back strongly, as does Ivan Eskrig, who's in and around the leading contenders as well. 16th 2 weeks ago in Austria, 17th last week in Spain. Opportunity for himself to try and reverse those fortunes. Tony Richet as well, starting from pole in the Scarlet Ferrari car, looking to get his title charge back on track. It's Tony Richet versus Volokongen here for the British Grand Prix, and we are racing at Silverstone on the short run down into Abbey Corner. It's a great start from Volokongen, the championship leader, steals the lead already into turn 1 as Tony Richet left standing at the start. Ivan Eskrig wide through turn 1, and the Ferrari still under pressure. This time from the Chrome and Papaya McLaren of Snacks. Dirk moving forward along with Mats von der Geest. Front wings thrown everywhere on the run through turns 3 and 4. Bit of contact in the battle for third. Argy-bargy involving Snacks and Dirk, and it's the McLaren that holds firm. Finlay, great start in the other Mercedes up to P5. Ivan Eskrig losing places. Otsazito, last week's winner, down to P11 as well. But Volokongen flying out of the blocks.
Flying out the blocks with the big battle in the midfield. We've got 2 Red Bulls, a Williams in Gulf livery, and a Ferrari fighting for the position. And the Ferrari's gone. That's Otsazito, last week's winner, has had a shocker of a start. And the virtual safety car is out. There goes the wing of Otsazito. Leon's also lost his the Sauber of Leon has lost his front wing as well. You can see the end plates come off on the right hand side, and we have a virtual safety car in the first lap to clean up the damage, but we should be getting away very soon. But it is a disastrous start for Otsazito. Collided, got too frisky with Lawrence and Dylan Hogland, and has paid the price and will now be set at the back of the grid. Is he going to go last to first? We will see, but he will definitely have to come into the pits for a new wing because he has no wings.
No.
And they say Red Bull gives you wings. Quite the inverse now, but enough shameless plugging.
Dylan Hogland's in, by the way. Dylan Hogland missing his right-hand end plate as well. Leon with a 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags as we're getting ready to get going again. Backing up through the final corner, the Delta brake checking a couple of cars as Volokongen just has to slam the anchors on there through the final corner of Club. Still under virtual safety car conditions. Dylan Hogland joined in the pits, unsurprisingly, by Leon with that big front wing damage, missing the entirety of the left-hand side of that front wing. And Ottazita, who had no front wing at all, and what a bump back down to earth for last week's winner. Drove brilliantly in Spain, but now feeling the pain here at Silverstone. P17, and it's not a great start in general for Ferrari, is it? Tony Richet losing the lead to Volokongen as we are racing again. Look at this, Snacks on the defensive. Dirk trying to nab third place from his grasp down the inside into Brooklands. Opportunistic stuff, and the lead changes hands as well. Volokongen was slow, and straight back into the lead goes the pole to Tony Richet, swapping all over the show. Finlay trying to get involved. Snacks is all over the place. Finlay comes past Dirk, who's wide going through Luffield. What a restart that was, catching a couple of drivers by surprise. Tony Richet on the button back into the lead. Finlay charging past Dirk as well.
What are we doing? Racing or ping pong? Comments in the comment section below. That was one heck of a restart. Tony Richey takes back the lead where he started, and now Volkongen's left in the dust, but he's going to have the DRS heading down to Stowe Corner, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. Further behind we have cars getting close up, the two V-Carbs getting attacked by Ivan Eskrig in the Alpine, and Dylan, Otsuzito and Leon trying to catch up. They are over half a minute behind the rest of the field.
Mats van der Geest had a little look down the inside into the Vale chicane, trying to take 5th place off the hands of his teammate and just add even more misery to Dirk's restart as he got briefly up into P3. Brilliant move down the inside of Brooklands, then just seemed to lose momentum ever so slightly through Luffield. Snacks coming back through. Finlay as well, opportunistic, getting through. And look behind, there goes Nico in the Golf liveried Williams, dancing down the inside of Ivan Eskry. Bit of a bump and run, I think, just allows the Alpine to hold on to 7th place. Wasn't the cleanest move. Bit of bumper cars on the run there into the loop, still ducking out. Also Finlay, really aggressive, had a look down the inside, maybe trying to spook Snacks into a bit of a mistake. Nico from attack to defence. Lawrence was pretty close there on the run into Brooklands corner, and again through Luffield as well. Just has to keep his wits about him. 0.6 of a second now, the gap out in front. Snacks, Finlay, Dirk and Mats van der Geest still your top 6, with Ivan holding back in 7th place after that move from Nico that was unsuccessful.
Polymaki in the bottom 7 trying to get into the points. He's had a mistake, and Phil is going to be attacking him for that 11th place as he tries to get a mistake out of him in the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel section, as we're going to go down the Hangar Straight once again, lap 3. The 3rd time here tonight, but it looks like everyone keeping themselves to themselves before heading into Vale. Is there going to be any sort of move? It doesn't look like it. All the cars you can see, the top 14 in the frame, in the club corner now, for making their way out. And another fastest lap from Tony Richey, 129s now on the medium tyre, and firmly in control at the moment, but you never know what can happen. Volkongen and Snatch all closing up. Finlay starting to close up as well. It's only a matter of time before they start getting the elbows out and fighting for these crucial points-paying positions.
Dylan Hogland at the back on the hard compound tyre. Won't be able to extend that to the end of the race. Same with Otsuzito as Leon retires in the pits, and we are down to 16. Waving the white flag on lap 4 is the Sauer of Leon, and that's back-to-back races where the pace has been strong, but luck perhaps hasn't quite been on his side. Snacks has been a little bit closer to Volkongen than Volkongen has been to Tony Richey for the majority of this 4th lap, but now just extending a little bit through Copse Corner. Got to be careful. You get a boatful of dirty air going through Copse Corner. Got to make sure you're so precise with your inputs to keep it within the white lines. We know that once you get one track limit penalty, or warning I should say, you can just start treading on eggshells for the rest of the race. You don't want them to spiral and just pick up lap after lap after lap. You go 3 seconds, 6 seconds, maybe even 9 seconds in some circumstances. Yellow flag is out for the Sauer of Leon, just coming out of the pits, retiring. That is the AI. Should not cause a safety car, virtual safety car making an appearance. But Bernd Mailander, well, still missing in action. Haven't seen him for so long.
And he's still getting paid for the job. Imagine, he's on gardening leave, I think. He's done absolutely nothing. But hey, I guess sometimes the best jobs involve nothing, as Dirk is going to try on the outside of Finlay, and he's touched him into turn 3, and that's not what you want to be doing. You want to be making the move, putting some pressure on Finlay, but it doesn't look like he's going to get past any time soon. The DRS is going to come on, but the effects of the DRS train will mean that it will be difficult to overtake. Coming into Brooklands once again. Of course, Brooklands used to be near the tail end of the lap. Now it's part of the start of the lap. Coming out of it, we look at the lead is now 6/10, and that should be pretty comfortable for Tony Richey now. But we know stranger things have happened. You could put the DRS on, and Volkongen could try and take the lead, because of course the DRS is in play when you're within 1 second behind of the car. Give it a competitive showdown, but it looks like it's extending, and there's no way that Volkongen is going to close up except by about a tenth or 2, because yeah, it just seems like Tony Richey is in control.
A little bit wide, Volkongen through Stowe. Won't matter too much because Snacks isn't particularly close either. Looks like Tony Roche maybe running slightly lower wings down the Mercedes. Got good straight line speed even without the DRS, but also Volokong getting out of the slipstream, trying to keep the engine as cool as he possibly can, staying out of the turbulent air. That will give him a straight line speed advantage in particular over the group behind that are just getting loads of dirty air from an increasing number of cars sat in front of them. This DRS train, no brakes in it yet from first down to 14th before you get to Dylan Hoglan and Otsa Zeta, who both came a cropper on the opening lap, picked up damage, had to come into the pits at the end of the opening lap when the virtual safety car was called. And this is a pit lane as well where you only want to be in there once because it's so long, isn't it? The slowest and longest pit lane on the calendar. You will lose so much time. Maybe with the exception of Imola, which is another really slow and really long one, the one-stop strategy is the only viable way to go racing around this circuit, even if the tyre wear is particularly high.
Yes, of course. Tyre wear is absolutely high here. With all the fast cornering you'll be doing, it's going to put a lot of strain on your tyres, and the pit strategy may be pretty crucial on how this shapes up the final standings, but we'll get to that later. It doesn't seem like we've had any passes for a while. We've had a few opportunities, but they just seem to have just fizzled away. Of course, we had Dirt closing up to Finley, but that just seems to be it.
Yeah.
This was the case last week as well.
It was. Just settling into a rhythm in this opening stint. What we did see last week was when the pit stops were made, things did just start to fan out and disperse ever so slightly. So we're just waiting for somebody to bite the bullet, pull the trigger, and jump into the pits to cause the cascading undercut attempts from certain drives and then reacting a lap later. So we should see a shake-up in the order once we get to the first pit stop window, the only pit stop window of this race. Tony Roche slightly wide there on the run into Village, turn number 3. Less than half a second, hovering around half a second. Now the gap between himself and Tony Roche as the Mercedes opens the rear wing DRS flap, but again, not really able to make any real impression down the Wellington straight and into Brooklands. So just real struggle, a real grind at the moment for Volokon to get close. Yes, he's probably doing some tyre and fuel saving at this stage as well, just sat underneath the rear wing of the Ferrari in front and very happy just to sit and watch and wait and see what unfolds in front and indeed behind, because Snacks just putting him under a little bit of pressure on the run into Copse Corner.
Lap 7 of 26. Looks like Snacks starting to closing up to Volokongan coming through Mackett, Beckett and Chapel. I have to say all three because they're right next to each other. How about DRS? Now the DRS in front will mean that it won't be as easy for Snacks because it would be for Volokongan right now. No move, but he is starting to pile the pressure on in that chrome McLaren, which is livery accurate thankfully, because of course they had the chrome in the British Grand Prix this year and it looked like it helped because they went on to win, but was it the wrong driver? Well, probably not, because, well, that's a story for another day.
Snacks definitely looking, by the way, like he wants Volokongan just to get a bit of a shift on, though. You saw and you said really close on the run into Stowe, putting him under some significant pressure in the second half of that lap.
Yeah, he has. So now, it's like we're going to be having Volokongan starting to close up on Tony Roche, and is that a I thought there was a move there, but it's not. It's just Finlay trying to have a look at the inside, see what can be done, where he's at, but looks like he's stuck in the middle of a DRS train, as I see Paul and Mackie having a bit of a fluster at Luffield in that Sakura.
Oh, sorry to jump in there. Ivan Eskrieg very close to the back of Mats von der Geest, who I think had a bit of a wobble going through Luffield. For a moment, they were side by side through Wookert and Ivan, I think, just backing out of that one, thinking, I don't really want to be side by side into Copse Corner. We've seen that that's not gone particularly well in the past, especially for drivers under the Red Bull umbrella. His teammate, Dirt, currently P5, close to the back of Finlay out of Maggotts, Beckis and Chow, but again, you can see the effect of being stuck in that DRS train. No real overspeed that you can gain, still 0.3 of a second off the back of the Mercedes through Stowe Corner. good evening to Ron in the chat. As the first punches are being pulled, I'm going to hold that thought into the pits. Comes Volokong and Dirk all locked up. 10-second penalty, just too late on the brakes, trying to carry as much speed as he possibly could into the pit lane. And that is a big, big blunder to make. Championship leader pulling the trigger first, trying to get the undercut on his main rival, the pole sitter Tony Richet. Ivan S. Greek also in, along with Nico in the Williams. Now I'm going to talk to Ron. Welcome in, my friend, supporting our championship leader Volokongen, who did at one stage steal the lead of this race on the opening lap, lost it on the virtual safety car restart, and has been sitting behind Tony Richet for the 8 laps since, and now is the first to jump into the pits for a brand new set of boots.
So the pit stops are on, and everyone is going to be in the pits soon enough, I imagine. Now, Otsuzito is actually in this battle, would you believe it? And he doesn't have to pit again, because of course he has already pit, but that was because of a change of wing, and that is now why he's on 7 laps old tyres and is fighting around with Dirk. But Ivan Escribe will be coming up close soon. I imagine Otsuzito may have to stop again. It will depend on if these tyres will last the end. I think they will.
From lap 1? From lap 1, that feels like a bit of a stretch, doesn't it? He's just been past there, like you said, from Ivan Escri. Phil, by the way, blasting past Polymaki on the run into Cop's corner. That Haas on the medium tyres starting to really struggle. Surface behind on the hards, Phil in front on the hards. Into the pits comes Tony Richet, reacting to his main rival in this race, Volokong. We're going to see how strong the undercut is. Lawrence in the Red Bull stays out on his medium tyres. Only 8 laps for some of them on the medium, some going a little bit longer. Phil up into second. Polymaki continues to run on as well. Finlay and Mats von der Geest following the Ferrari of Tony Richet, and this is going to be crucial. Will it be Scarlett? Will it be the flash of Scarlett coming out of this incredibly slow pit lane, or will it be the silver arrow that comes flying by? Where is Volokong? Just cutting the beam to start lap number 10 now, as the who's in front? I can't quite see. Dylan Hogland in front. But Volokongen, yes, is ahead of Tony Richet, and to some tune as well. Dirk is through also, but bear in mind he has a 10-second penalty. That undercut has worked out absolutely beautifully. A second and a half, realistically, Volokongen has gained there, and he now can try and stretch his legs at the front of this train, albeit with Dylan Hogland on those 8-lap-old hard tyres, a second and a half up the road. Phil, meanwhile, repeating the trick he pulled on the previous lap, past Polymaki in exactly the same place, now does the same to Lawrence, and the Aston Martin is the leader out there on the circuit.
So we've got a bit of a fun battle for the lead. Well, technically, because of course they haven't pit yet. If they weren't pitting, then they would be in the lead, but they have to pit. It is the rules. You must pit, and Otsuzito has lost position to Nico off Treen, but it is the 2 Hasses chasing down the Red Bull of Lawrence. I stand corrected. Polymaki is actually pit, so it's just 1 Haas, and of course the Aston Martin of Phil, who's still in the lead and is not pit yet. But now Dylan Hogland, what is he going to do? Is he going to try and do the Alonso trick and possibly back up and give Lawrence a bit of an advantage? It'd be biblical scenes if that happened, but I don't think so. I think Volkongen's just too quick right now. So you see he's now closed up to Dylan within like 1.5 seconds. Because of course they pit on this lap. It has just been a fantastic lap from both of them. We should not be surprised if they get past this lap or the next.
Yeah, should get gobbled up pretty quickly on those old tyres. 7-lap older tyres than Volokongen, Dirk and Ivan Eskrig. 8 laps older than Tony Richet and Snacks. Volokongen does not want to get stuck for longer than he needs to, because Dirk, you would imagine, is going to be pretty punchy. The same with Tony Richet. Can't get a decent run on the run into Brooklands and Luffield, so just going to have to sit behind. Maybe going to try and pull the trick that we've seen Phil do and get a really good exit out of Luffield, burn a little bit of ERS to try and pull past on the run out of Woodcote and into Cop's corner, gaining. The gap is closing, but Volokongen is still happy just to stay patient and wait behind for now, as I think Dirk goes slightly wide there through Cop's corner. So Dylan Hogland, the net race leader, but surely has to make another stop in this race. Bit of a wobble through Maggots and Beckett's. Then Volokongen, the championship leader. Dirk with a 10-second penalty. Tony Richet, the pole sitter. Ivan Eskrig and Snacks make up this DRS train on the air. You said it. Very easy move there for Volokongen. He'll be hoping that Dirk doesn't get through on the run into Stowe as well, but I think the RB is going to chuck it down the inside and successfully does so. But crucially, Tony Richet is still stuck behind. Bit of contact as he tries to squeeze down the inside on the exit. Now having to chuck it down the the inside into the Vel chicane. Opportunistic on the button there is Tony O'Shea. Knows he can't allow the two drivers in front to scamper off into the distance. Volokongan through, Dirk through, Tony O'Shea through. Now Ivan Eskrig arriving on the scene, but he's being pushed over the line there by the McLaren of Snacks. Literally nose to tail again, contact, rubbing his racing to the inside. We go on the run into 3. Ivan Eskrig going to dive down the inside. Snack's going to try and follow in the footsteps. Thought Dylan Hoglan was going to get gobbled up, and backing out of that one. Through goes the Alpine and the McLaren, and Dylan Hoglan from the front of this train to the back of it in the space of about 45 seconds.
Yeah, not ideal for Tony Roche, but he is starting to close up on Dirk, and Dirk is starting to lose ground to Volokongan. Of course, that 10-second penalty doesn't help much either, and he will have to serve it if he has to pit again, such as a safety car. Nico is battling with Finley in what is currently 10th position, but it should be for more like 7th position, because of course Lawrence, Phil and Surface have yet to pit. Coming up to Hops now, and the gap is now...
Look at Dirk and Tony Roche burning the batteries. The fry, the pole sitter squeezed over to the curb, trying to go around the outside through Magnus Beckers and Chapel. Wasn't given the time of day by the RB. Tony Roche really pushing hard to get back behind Volokong and tried to squeeze past Dirk. There wasn't the space there, but now is he going to use the ARS again? Maybe the straight line speed advantages he's got. Lawrence into the pits, can't get close enough to make the move into Stowe, but Dirk sliding slightly wide, misses his apex, and now this is the opportunity for Tony Roche around the outside into the Vel chicane. Dirk is brave under brakes, just about gives the space, but Tony Roche muscles his way through, charges on through, puts the RB in his back pocket, and now can chase after his main championship rival.
Very brave move as Lawrence is going to come out of the pit, and he's going to fall all the way to the back. Maybe you should have asked Dylan to give him a bit of a boost, but unfortunately that is not going to be the case. He is going to come out in plumb last for now, but he will have the fresher tyres, so it may be a blessing in disguise for him. Can he finish in the points? That would be the question that will be on his mind and his team's mind as we speak. The big battle here right now. Above in the lead, Tony Roche is starting to close in on Volokongan. We could have a fight for the win on our hands in this, the final race of the 2025 in the year of our Lord, in this calendar year. Of course, pretty much the halfway point before next year we get the season concluded. It looks like, oh, what's happened to Van de Geest? He has had something happen to him. He's falling back, and this is bad news for one of the championship contenders. He's had wing damage.
Wow.
Was that a collision with one of the drivers? Was it Hogland?
I'm not 100% sure. We saw the yellow flags come out, but for the driver second in the championship was 7 points behind Volokongan. That is a real kick in the teeth. Down in P15, was P4 on the grid. Not been a good first half this British Grand Prix, and I wouldn't be surprised if he boxes, gets off those tyres and eventually retires from the race, because points seeming unlikely. Otsazito into the pit lane as well. Mats van der Geest, there is the both of them go into the pit lane. Otsazito, last week's winner, back down to earth with a bump, retiring, and Mats van der Geest also retiring. We're down to 14 out in front. Phil and Surface still yet to stop. Dirk is continually under the cosh and under the microscope since Tony Roche blasted past. He's had to deal with a very feisty looking Alpine of Ivan Eskri. Snacks very close as well. Finlay in P8 in hot pursuit of this trio also. But Volokongan back with the net race lead here on lap 14 of the British Grand Prix. Tony Roche second. Dirk is third on road, but has a 10-second penalty courtesy of speeding into the pits. And under pressure from the Alpine, under pressure from the McLaren. Nico's got himself into contention as well in the Gulf liveried Williams on the back of this DRS train that goes from Volokongan back to himself in P9. Then a gap to Dylan Hoglan and a bigger gap back to Zwade, Simone Mara and Polly Mackie.
So I've just got news from the Discord. Apparently Otsazito and Max van der Geest collided.
Yikes.
in the incident that retired both of them, and Max van der Geest very, very angry with Otsazito there, and that is a bad night for both of them come to an end. And it's good news for Volokongan because he gets to extend his lead. But the question is, can he hold on and possibly win the race? The gap at the top is closing. Tony Roche ain't giving up just yet. Well, why would you? There's 12 laps to go.
Over halfway through. And it is Volokongan started second, briefly got the lead before losing it at the virtual safety car restart, undercutting Tony Richet and undercutting him to the tune of a second and a half to give himself some track position. He did at one stage have a car in between himself and the Ferrari, but Dirk has been dispatched. Ivan Eskrig wide going through Aintree, potentially vulnerable to snacks in the McLaren, but the DRS train means that the Alpine has his blushes spared on a run down into Brooklyn, still holding sixth ahead of Snacks and ahead of Finlay, with Nico just about clinging onto the coattails of this group of cars. Volokongan still nothing to worry about in front of him. 10.5 seconds the gap to Phil and Surface, who are yet to stop in this race. Started on the white striped hard compound tyre. Should be coming into the pits in and around the next couple of laps. Dirk is wide through Copse Corner. Struggling out there as the RB. Winner in Monaco a few weeks ago. Hasn't scored a point since. Now really, really struggling, as is Volokongan out in front. That gap going through Magnus Beckers and Chapel went down under 2 seconds. I think Tony Richet may have got a face full of dirty air though, and that just putting him off kilter. Now using the DRS and his straight line speed advantage. Is Volokongan going to defend? The answer is no. Rolls out the red carpet for the Scarlet Red Ferrari, and Tony Richet, the pole sitter, back up into the lead of the British Grand Prix. Volokongan again doesn't challenge into the Vale chicane. Was very happy just to wave the white flag. Surprised that he was so passive there in letting Tony Richet come through. Maybe just decided there was absolutely nothing he could do about it and just let the Ferrari file on past.
So Tony Richet back in the lead here at Silverstone. And this is the last race of 2025. And Volokongan, was that a strategic move perhaps? He didn't look like to have thought that a lot, so we'll see if he's going to try and make a lunge down next lap. But you can see the top 7 in close proximity of each other, fighting for the win here at Silverstone. They want that last win, and for Christmas to come early. Dylan Hogland falling down the order again. Svade has now passed him, and he's now 3 seconds behind the leading pack. Simone Mara will be next. I don't think Dylan's even fighting any of these battles, but and he's had a bit of a wobble out there as well. The top, the top are getting close to each other, and it looks like we could be getting a lot of fighting in these final 10 laps or so.
Watch for Phil and watch for Surfs as well on the medium tyres. They will be significantly faster for the first 4 or 5 laps of their stint, and then things will start to stabilise and equalise out, and we'll see the equilibrium tyre-wise come into effect. Tony Richet, Volokongan, Dirk, Ivan Eskrig, Snacks, Finlay, Nico, your leading group of 7 cars. Simone Mara, the next one to push Dylan Hogland down, and Polly Mackey following in the footsteps and up into the top 10, back into the top 10. Dylan Hogland really struggling on those ancient hard compound tyres, and does bid farewell to them as he makes his way into the pit lane. Will he speed and will he pick up a penalty? No, he does get the car stopped, and I'm not sure if it's going to be a retirement, because the traditional sign is that they do speed into the pits and throw it away. Snacks wide through Abbey Turner 1. Now under the cost, because this is Finlay throwing it down the inside into turn 3. Little bit of contact between the two Mercedes engine counterparts. Snacks keeping his foot in it around the outside. Now has the inside through the loop and is going to just about rebuff the assault. Finlay now keeping it pinned around the outside of Aintree. Eyeball to eyeball, nothing to separate the Papaya and Chrome McLaren and the Silver, apart from the straight line speed advantage. Snacks just about in the ascendancy going through Brooklands, squeezes Finlay to the outside, who still keeps in there, but a bit of contact through Luffield, just running understeering wide into the side pod of Snacks, and that puts paid to that assault at trying to steal 5th place from under the nose of Snacks.
Yeah, a bit of argy-bargy there at Luffield, and that will not put a smile on Finlay's place. It will put a massive frown, as now he's going to be hounded by Nico in the Gulf Williams livery. Through Beckett and Chapel they come. It's going to be another fight for big scores here, as Simone Mara has lost some ground.
Spun.
Lawrence is going to get through. He's lost connection.
Oh, that was an odd one, because Polly Mackey was coming through. I saw Simone Mara way off into the pickets going through Chapel, half spun, pointing in the wrong direction, and then left the session and reset to track instantly back on the road. But Phil's going to lap this one up. Has to go the long way around into the Vale chicane. Gets the move done before we even get to the braking zone, courtesy of the Williams being AI controlled. And that is probably a points finish for Simone Mara, thrown out of the window. Lawrence and Polly Mackey allowed to come through 2 seconds off the back of Zwade as the fastest lap goes the way of Surface. P13. Been unlucky so far, but the strategy might benefit him in the latter stages. 2 laps on his medium tyres. Needs to dispose of Simone Mara very, very quickly to have an assault and a charge towards the points paying position. You can see there has done it in the bottom right hand screen. You can see in the track map going through Village and the loop up into P12 as Samo Murray gets back into the session. But he is now the unlucky victim of a disconnect because he's down in P13 and points now looking very, very hard to come by.
Points very hard to come by indeed. He will be down in 13th place. It will be quite a while to get back up because 4 seconds is a long way in this game. Dylan is 16 seconds behind him and will be trying to catch up as fast as possible. Is he still connected? I think he is, but his tyres are much less grippier and much older than others on this track. So it doesn't look like he's going to get any close. Here's a crucial point. Ivan Eskrig has lost DRS. He's lost his DRS. What's the word?
Well, he's outside of 1 second, and that could prove pivotal because Snacks and Finlay have shown that they're very willing to be very, very racy in their attempts to try and pass cars in front. Dirk very close to the back of Volokong and through turns 1 and 2. Isn't going to think about throwing it down the inside of turn 3, but almost pushing Volokong, and Simone Mara is the 4th to retire. Dirk just sticking his nose down the inside through the loop and on the run into Aintree. Maybe just catching Volokong and slightly unawares there. No DRS indeed for Ivan Eskrig, but Snacks is 7/10 of a second back. Equidistant back to Finlay as well, so not going to be challenging. Nico has just fallen out of 1 second as well. Needs to be careful because Zwade, Polymachi and Lawrence catching quickly. The Red Bull down the inside into Brooklyn, steals 9th place from Polymachi, pushes the Haskart down a further spot. 2 lap fresher tyres for Lawrence in the Red Bull car. I think both of them though could be at the mercy of the charging Phil. 3 laps only on his medium tyres going to the end of the race on the alternate strategy. Phil could be very, very dangerous for some of these low runners and riders. He may even catch the lead train if he can get his skates on.
He's closing up to Volokong right now. The gap 3/10. Or he's closed up for a second, but seems to have lost it. What was I going to say? Ivan Eskrig lost his DRS privileges. I don't know why I forgot the word there. You know, it's hard, this job. Commentating, amateurly commentating on this action week in, week out. You know, I enjoy it all the time. Anyway, still a fight to win. A race to win. Dirk in the middle of a battle with that 10-second penalty. But it doesn't seem like we're getting a lot of fighting, even though the cars are so close, because the dirty air, the DRS train, showing why it is affecting the cars negatively when it comes to fighting these positions.
100%. Still 6/10 the margin out in front. Dirk has been sternly examining the rear geometry of that Mercedes car, keeping very, very close to Volokong and keeping the championship leader incredibly honest despite having that 10-second penalty looming and lingering over his head and his eventual race finish. On lap 20 of 26 here for the British Grand Prix, the last PSGL PSF1 race of 2025, everybody. If you are still here, thank you for sticking this one out. And put your predictions. Who's going to win this one? Will it be Tony Richet? Will it be Volokong? And will it be somebody else making a run from the pack in the remaining 6.5 laps of this race? Important result for the championship leader, especially with Mats van der Geest scoring nil points. That will extend his championship lead, and last season's runner-up could be getting himself in a very strong position with 4 races to go one better than he did, driving the colours of the Papaya McLaren squadron in season 40. Move to the silver hours of Mercedes from Woking to Brackley and pick up that championship that he was so close to last season, just losing out to eventual champion and his McLaren teammate Oscar in season 40. 6/10 per second still the margin out in front. Ivan Eskrig has stemmed the flow, no longer just hovering on the edge of falling out of 1 second, comfortably back inside. It's actually Finlay who's under pressure a little bit here to keep in touching distance of that group in front. Phil has just stalled out on his assault on those medium tyres, just stuck behind Zwade, Lawrence and Polymachi. Maybe needs to be a bit creative with where he goes for his overtakes, but all the while that he spends behind these 3 cars in the dirty air, he is losing the advantage that those medium tyres had over the older hards.
6 laps to go. Phil is struggling to get past Polymachi. He's had 5 laps in these tyres. Surely this is the time he makes a move. He can't seem to get anything done. How about Luffield? No, it doesn't look like it's happening.
There's a gap.
Having a look at the inside, but won't get through. And what about here? The only close battle that's happening right now. Phil needs this to get into the points.
Should take it down the inside. Oh, that was brave, wasn't it, from Polymaki around the outside. Kept his foot planted to the floor, and it was Phil on the inside that eventually had to wave the white flag. That was committed, wasn't it?
Very committed. My goodness, a repeat of 2021 did not happen there.
Look at Snacks, by the way. Battle for 4th and 5th. And McLaren down the inside. Ivan Escrew once again falling out of 1 second. Little bit of contact to Snacks. Barges his way past the Alpine. The Endstone-based car down into P5. Phil still not making any impressions. Stuck behind the Haas of Polymaki. Nico has dropped 2 seconds, by the way, to this group, and suddenly is under the cosh from the group behind. Zwade, Lawrence, Polymaki and Phil potentially smelling an extra position in this race.
5 laps to go, and it looks like the third place.
Phil down the inside into turn 3 again. Bit of contact between himself and Polymaki, not for the first time. And again, it's the Haas that rebuffs the assault, but now trying to cut back the up and under. Can Phil try and make it work this time? Through Aintree we go, nose to tail. 10th and 11th, the final points paying position. Remember though, Dirk with a 10-second penalty should tumble, but it's the Haas that has the straight line speed advantage and is able once again to keep Phil in his back pocket.
So, is there going to be another opportunity for Phil? 5 laps to go. Time is running out for these guys to make some moves to get those bigger, better points, positions. Tony Richet still leading after 22 laps. It's changed a bit over the course of the race, but it is still remaining as it was from the start. Tony Richet looking for his win here at Silverstone, as Phil had a bit of a mistake out of Chapel and now has lost time to Polymaki in 10th place coming down the Hangar Straight. Lawrence is closing up to Swade for 8th place on track, who is coming up close to Nico and Golf Williams for 7th. As we start the 3rd to last lap, I don't think we're going to get another safety car tonight.
But Mylander still with his feet up. But Nico's pace has fallen off the face of the planet since he fell out of 1 second of Finlay in front. That is why he's under massive pressure. Down the inside, Lawrence late move, but it's an efficient move to get 8th place off the hands of Zwade. Into Village in the loop. Still the Aston Martin tries to hang it out. But that is brilliant stuff from Lawrence on the button. And he had to be to nab 8th position off the hands of the Aston Martin. Does Wade have the straight line speed advantage? Phil pulling out as well, trying to make an impression on Polymaki. Lawrence into Brooklands keeps that 8th position. Brilliant move from the Red Bull car. 3-lap fresher, hard compound tyres, putting them to good use. And now surely 7th place has his name stamped on it, because Nico continues to grapple for grip out there. So slow at this stage of the race. But Zwade not satisfied with losing the spot, burning some battery on the run into Kopp's corner. Got close, but not close enough to try it. An audacious move down the inside into Kopp's corner.
Through the next section we go. Is there going to be a move at Hangar Straight for any of these daring drivers yet to rack up more points on the board from their haul? It doesn't look like so. Every time I build it up, it doesn't seem to happen. Story of my life. The battle for the lead is still raging on, but are they going to wait till the last lap, Volakongen? He has a lot of battery left. They probably have equal battery left looking at their screens. And it could come down to the final lap. I think it would now probably be an ideal time for Volakongen. Try and close up. Dirk is starting to lose ground, and in fact could be about to be passed here by Snats for 3rd place proper. But he's 2.6 seconds. I don't think Dirk's going to fight this, because of course he's not going to be finishing 3rd anyway. He has that penalty. He will not be getting that removed, I believe. He's sped in a pit lane.
Easy as you like. And Dirk, after winning in Monaco 3 weeks ago, it could be 3 successive races with 0 points scored. Another blow to the Racing Bull V-Carb Championship push. Look at this. Lawrence is pushing Nico through Luffield, saying, come on, get on with it, mate. We've got a race to try and catch a few cars in front. 0.2 per second the margin. Will Lawrence think about it into Kopp's corner? The answer will be a very firm no. But Nico just trying to hold on to this come the end of the race. 2.5 laps to go. His tyres are absolutely shot. Losing about half a second a lap to the group in front. really, really grappling for grip. Finlay as well applying the blowtorch to Ivan Eskrig in the battle for what will be P4 and P5 with Dirk's 10-second penalty. Is this now the time for Lawrence? 4-lap pressure, hard compound tyres. Does he have the straight line speed? The Williams looks pretty slippery. Gets the gap under 2/10 into Stowe, but can't get close enough. Got to be careful because Wade still nipping at his heels as well. Aston Martin, behind as well. Phil down the inside into the Vale chicane. Thought about it, had to bail out of it because Polymaki was not going to give him the space on the inside. I think that was wise from Phil there, noticing the red flag being thrown by the Haas in front. 2 laps to go, 0.6 of a second, the margin out in front. 3.5 seconds, the gap back to the cars behind. Lawrence again, what do you think about it? The dive into turn 2. You bet he thinks about it. The dive into turn 3. Forces Nico wide and takes 7th place for himself. And now, Zwade and Polymaki getting stuck in as well. Bulked behind the slow, ailing Williams. Big wobble, big whack of oversteer for Nico coming out of turn 4. What order are he going to be in? Lawrence P7. Zwade piling the pressure on Nico. Phil to the inside into Brooklands. Can he finally take 10th place away from the Haas of Polymaki? It's been about 8 laps coming, but it's the outside of Luffield. I think he's just about going to get the job done, and yes, he does. But this is still so close. Nico's tyres absolutely dead.
Yeah, and Swader's going to try and bid his way into 7th place. I say that because Dirk has that penalty, and I'm sure he'll fall out of the points positions. Crucial moment of the race for both of these drivers. But what about the top battle? It's still within 6/10, and they're burning the batteries like mad. I think it may be too little too late for Volkongen. What about behind him? Doesn't seem to be any moving going on there either.
Nico's got really good straight line speed. Means that down the hanger straight, he can hold off Zwade once again. Lawrence has scampered off into the distance, put the Williams outside of the 1 second window. 2 Aston Martins filing behind the Williams, then the 2 Haas cars as well. One of them will inherit points courtesy of the 10-second penalty that Dirk currently has, but it is the last lap, and we reconvene at the front. 0.4 of a second the margin. Tony Richet, the pole sitter. Volkongen, the championship leader. Both drivers have led the race at varying stages here in the British Grand Prix. Tony Richet dumping the ERS coming out of 18 corner, trying to give himself a buffer through the middle sector. The first job is done. Round 1 in this final lap duel goes to the red corner of Tony Richet.
Oh, that's Nico gone off the track. He's got a puncture, so he has to back out. And thank goodness for that. And this has allowed the 2 Haas's to battle in the... Please don't do what you did in the real race and do a synchronized spinning in Brooklands, but that's not happened. They have battling for position, and that means Nico is not going to score any points. He's stuck in the gravel.
Yikes.
And he's going absolutely nowhere. But what about the top battle? Is there going to be a final chance for Volkongen? Has he got any battery yet? Yes, he does. But Tony Richet is more battery. Who's going to get it?
Oh, little wiggle. You saw the little wiggle, didn't you, from Volkongen? He thought about it, but he wasn't close enough. Tony Richet, the Ferrari sparking down the back straight. Dirk still close to Snacks, but they're 5 seconds away from these two in a class above everybody else. And the final winner of 2025 is the 5th different winner in 5 races. Tony Richet slams himself back into the championship, and it is scarlet red, the colour at the top of the podium. The championship leader, Volkongen, comes home second, half a second back. Snacks on the podium for McLaren as well. Look at Dirk tumble with his penalty. He might still score a point. It's going to be no, I thought it was going to be touch and go. Down in P11, misses it by a second. Ivan Eskrig holds off Finlay. Great drive from Lawrence in P6 ahead of the Aston Martins and the Haas cars. 3 consecutive races without points for Dirk, despite crossing the line in 4th. Dylan Hogland in 12th, and Nico with that puncher on the last lap. We saw how slow he was, those tyres falling off a cliff, and he just about is going to Lewis Hamilton it 2020 style round the final few quarters.
It was, but it is for last place, of course, because you would not get away with that in the control. If you were leading, I think it would be much closer. It wouldn't be 30 seconds to opponent. It would be down from first to last, and that's how it ended for Nico. He gets no points. But this man gets all the points. Tony Richet got pole position, and he gets the win, so 17 points going his way.
Lifting the trophy aloft for the first time this season, Tony Richet had a couple of third places back-to-back. Hasn't scored since, but is now back on the top step. Takes 4 points out of Volkongen's lead, but last season's runner-up, making his statement clear after Mats van der Geest failed to score. Race winner Tony Richet, fastest lap and driver of the day for Dylan Hoglan. Not sure I would agree with the driver of the day, considering he did finish down in P12. Most overtakes for Surfston. The cleanest driver goes to the Aston Martin of Phil, who managed to avoid the shenanigans on the last lap when Nico's front left tyre in the Williams blew itself to pieces. First and second on the grid, first and second on the road, but it was very, very close. Tony Richet picking up his first win of the season ahead of Volokong, and Snacks rounding off the podium. Ivan S. Krieg, good return to form after 2 terrible races in P4. Finlay 5th, good day for Mercedes. Good one for Red Bull as well, with Lawrence in P6 ahead of the Aston Martins and the Haas cars. Dirk Dylan Hoglan, Nico, Simone, Mara, Otzazito, Mats van der Geest and Leon. The bottom 4, your retirees from today's race. Another exciting one, the last one of 2025, Logan. A statement win from Tony Richet, but a very complete performance from our championship leader.
Was indeed, yes. The championship leader, finishing in second place, extends his lead over the rest of the field. Van der Geest failing to score, failing to finish tonight, and Dirk also failing to score any points either. So no points for the V-Card boys tonight. But yes, great result for Tony Richet. The lone Ferrari from tonight. No, not the lone Ferrari. The lone Ferrari to finish the race. Are we on? Sorry.
Was indeed
Yes,
the lone
he is
Ferrari.
now still in the lead of the championship as it stands, with excluding Alex Lofer. At 12 points would give him, by my calculations, 55 points going into the Christmas break. And again, 19 points ahead of Van der Geest. No points for Otzazito. No points for Dirk. Tony Richet will jump up to 43 points, which means he'll be 12 behind Volakongen and 20 behind Alex Lofer, who is not in the division anymore. They're your top 2 for now. Evan S. Krieg will go up to 32. Nico scored no points tonight. And of course, third place finisher was Snatsk, and he will jump up to 15 points, which should put him around the top 10, I think. Yes, 10th, if we exclude Alex Lofer, ahead of Phil.
Now the big twist in the championship tale, now guaranteed pretty much that Alex Lofer won't finish the season with the most points with this good run that Volokhogen has been on. And we've only got 4 races left for PSGL, PSF1, all of them happening in the new year. Dylan Hoglan in the chat. Unfortunate, my friend. I apologise to. I don't apologise because I wasn't the cause of it. But I'm sorry to see what happened to you on the opening lap with the front wing damage. Thanks for the call. You're very welcome, sir. And a very decent recovery drive, or attempted recovery drive as well. We're going to have a look at the calendar, though, because we may be done for 2025, but there is, of course, still racing to come. And the PC stint heads to Mexico. That on the 18th of December will be the last PSGL race of 2025. We don't head to Mexico until the 5th of January, when we reconvene for a 4-race bonanza to round off the season. Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi to round out season 41, where last season's runner-up Volakongen is looking to go one better, looking to steal a march on his rivals, and took a big step towards that this evening, didn't he, Logan?
He did indeed, with that win. 12 points now separates Tony Richet and Volakongen, jumping above Dirk Otzazito, Max van der Geest, who failed to score. I was going to mention something, but I forgot it. Oh yes, that is the 5th different winner in 5 races. So could it be 6? Volakongen hasn't won yet. Van der Geest hasn't won yet. We'll see when we get to Mexico next year. But it is all over for us for 3 weeks, I'm afraid, because of course Christmas break. We'll be back on the 5th of January at 8 o'clock. 2026 will be kicking off in Mexico. Home
Indeed.
of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, named after the 2 brothers, of course, that raced in Formula 1 at some point.
Fun race, that one as well.
Yes, of course. They'll go up the high altitudes of Mexico City, of course, and then down the long stretch, through the corners, past the packed grandstands there for Checo Perez, despite him not racing in 2025. and of course the famous or infamous Foro Soul section. And of course, this track's also used much more by Formula E that have a track around the oval section.
Slightly different layout they use, of course. So remember as well, before we head out, if you want to improve your performance on F125, head over to Sim Racing Setup, linked in the description of this live stream. The pro setups are available, F125 pro setups, esports and stable setups for every single track, quality race setups, dry or wet weather, optimal race strategies, created and developed by the drivers you see week in, week out here at Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. 27 tracks on the game, all of it available for £49.99. Do the maths, that is pretty darn decent value. And use that code PSGL at checkout for a 5% discount. But as always, everybody that has been watching, and thank you for sticking around. It has been a pleasure once again to bring this series to you on a Monday evening. Before we head out, Logan, on the old social media platforms, where can people find out what you're up to?
Otaku Logan on YouTube. I just upload random videos, and I'm going to try and start getting around to Let's Plays again. Mainly on Simpsons Hit and Run.
Ooh, throwback of a game, that is. Big fan of that. And if you're interested in what I'm doing, wilco.coms or wilco.darts on Instagram and TikTok. But like I said, pleasure to bring this series to you. We will see you back for PSGL PSF1 in 2026 for the Mexico Grand Prix on January the 5th. Mark it in your calendars, everybody, but make sure you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year period off. And we will see you not too long in the distance. 3 weeks, I think you said it was, Logan. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your evening and rest of 2025. And we will see you when the fireworks are flying, not just for the new year, but for the season 41 champion. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will see you very soon.